so many things to do to run these shows. Oh my god. I will definitely be hiring somebody when I get to that point. How are you? How are you doing? How's your week been? Mine's basically been punching me in the face. I'm not even sure how I'm managing to be here right now, but here I am. And you guys are all joining. Yay! Thank you for showing up and being here. I appreciate it. I've been kind of slowly carving out what it is that I even want to do in this space, and I hope that the sound is good and the video is coming through okay, because there's always something going on. So if there's any issues, please let me know. Hey Joe, I I've been thinking a lot about how once upon a time I had a crush on a guy named Joe. Might have been, actually, you might have been the first crush, Joe, but that was, in grade school, so those are always cute. But I think it was it could have been one of those movies with one of those like flashy Hollywood actors and went by the name of Joe Black. And I think after that I was just like, oh man, I just need a guy named Joe. Just silly, I know, but sometimes we just need a lot of silly in our lives, and I definitely need a lot of silly right now, so that's how it will be. And happy summer solstice, because today is the solstice, and I didn't actually anticipate that I would be doing a solstice show, but I guess, what is a solstice show other than to say happy solstice? It's one of the days of the year that's equal day and night, and what does that mean? Who knows, really? Beginning of summer. What does that mean? Who knows, really? Because it really felt like it started a few weeks ago, and then it got cold again, and then it got hot again, and then who knows what's going on. So I thinking a bit also about what it means to be showing up for people right now. I have definitely been having a pretty rough week, and thinking about what it means to be in a community and to have people support you and being supportive in a community. And so I just want to encourage folks to think about that. What does that mean for you? And what does that mean for where you are in your life? And what does that mean for the people around you, especially in this pandemic where things can just get a lot harder. So in that regard, I think probably one of the nicest things that you can do is to bring somebody cupcakes. And then the other interesting off the wall thing that you can probably do for somebody they would love you to tears is to take back all of their bottle returns for them. Because oh my, what a show that is. I went actually today to try to return just one bag of bottles. Let's just start slowly. And the whole return was already at capacity and closed. So that was over. It took me about like 30 seconds to discover that I'm still stuck with all these bottles. So I don't know how many others of you are dealing with that same situation, but yeah, so I guess I've been working on some songs. Oh, guess what I did? I finally, after all these years, I finally bought a capo, and I because I've lost mine like 2 years ago. I lost it. It took me 2 years to buy a new capo, and now I expect that I will find the other one like in a couple days probably. So I've been kind of just going back to some songs that come on, little camera, you want to be better. Some songs that I was messing around with writing long ago with when I actually knew where my capo was. And now I see the camera has done its little thing that it likes to do, be a little bit fuzzy. So what do you do? Alrighty. I guess this will be another fuzzy show. So anyway, so this one I think I had a name for, and I think I even have like a recording with a nice bass line, and so sometimes I'll just be thinking about this song and I'll hear the bass line and I'll be like, well, what did I call it though? I don't remember. It could have been fall into the sun, which is not to say don't actually fall into the sun. That seems like a bad idea, but to fall just a little bit like into the sunlight and the sunshine, and just let it warm your soul, especially when you need to feel that kind of affirmation of your humanity in a very simple, natural way. Come on now, camera. Come on. You want to be clearer. I know you do. Sorry. It's just one of those things. It's got a little bit of a trouble with focusing like I do right now. Ha ha ha. You weren't expecting that, were you? That's just one little ditty. You get a little snippet of that. And then the other thing that, cause I love having a capo, I'm like, oh yeah, there's all this stuff that I was doing and I forgot all about it. And then it reminds me that I can actually like create new stuff. Ha ha ha. And this was a cool little thing that I was doing earlier today, a couple days ago. Sorry about the video quality. Man, who wants to do my video tech? Of snippets for you. So, what's the highlight of your week? How has your week been? How has your week been? And what is your Saturday night drink of choice? I've been enjoying, I did some bartending last year for a very brief moment, and thought that I would continue to do some of that as a, second, third, fourth job, whatever it does, whatever it takes to get by these days, and not so much now. But one of the parting gifts was this 6-pack of Stone IPA, the Delicious IPA, which at first I was not so sure about. And then by the time that I finally got to the 6th can, which is like 6 months later, I decided that I actually like it quite a bit. And so then I decided to try the regular Stone IPA, and that's also very good. So that's what I was drinking yesterday, but today it's just some water, and I'm always curious to see and hear what other people are interested in, in their drinking, and that's the extent of my bartending at this point. So if you want to add a little note in the chat of what it is that you're interested in. I'm also still kind of working slowly and very surely on doing some cocktail photography, which will show up. Where will that show up? I think that might show up on an Instagram perhaps at some point, or maybe just on my website, which is very simply dawn.earth, because that's where I am, dawn.earth. So, yeah, I'm actually pretty sure I'm fairly boring. So, that's why I invited all you guys to like witness my boringness. And Dogfish Head is actually one of the. That's a great. That's a great choice. It's also one of the oldest breweries, I think, in the country, which is kind of cool. I think that's the one. Is that the one in like Delaware? Yeah, that's a good choice. I didn't realize I would like IPAs. I thought for a while that I had no interest in IPAs, but because sometimes beer that you don't expect to taste good is actually good, and you're like, shh, I guess that's what I'm drinking. And the other cool thing about the bartending gig was that I would get free shift beers, so I got to sample like so much stuff for free, and that was pretty awesome. And so I actually created this account on an app called Untapped. If you're familiar with Untapped, it's a pretty cool place where you can review beers and see what the other people are rating them and what the flavor notes are. It's a pretty neat thing. And so I kind of like made a log of all of the free beer that I got to taste last year. It's a lot of really great like industry research and homework that someone else's dime paid for. So I'm really appreciative of that, because beer is expensive, and especially craft beer, and especially craft beer in Ann Arbor. So that was a nice little perk. And sorry that this video is still. It is a fun app. It's probably like one of the perks of 2019 going into 2020, before 2020 started to punch me in the face, because it is actually 2012. 2020 is like what 2012 aspired to be. That's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. So let's see. So we are on the first fret. This is this cute little capo that so like I'm just so geeked about the capo, if you can't tell. Oh man. Alright. Earthquake! Come on, little camera, do your thing. Clarify for us all. See, it figures that I like invite everybody to come, and then the camera does this little deal. So let's see. She waits at night from the depths of her grief, desperately weeping for a moment's reprieve. Once for the loss of a lover's dream, twice for the loss of a brother. Do you realize the trouble we're in? Don't you know? These capos make you like realize that you don't remember your song very well. So take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. So take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. A pocket of suicide, a snag in the dream, and silently arise and transcend the grief. Yes, it's time to rise and begin. Yes, it's time, because the ice is getting thin. So take all these dreams, consider of them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. So take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. So softly my heart beats, the song so sure. Aloft and by the nuance in time, where the harmony is pure. So softly my heart dreams, like a fox or demure. Aloft and by the nuance in time, where the harmony is pure. Aloft in a trace of time, where the wild is encouraged. Restless, I confess, I could have been there for you, but now you dance in the mist. I guess that call went through, and now you're freer than you've ever been. 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 Oh, hey. Oh, oh. Aw, thank you. Thanks for stopping by. I really, really appreciate it. Like when people tap the comments in the comments, and I actually try to actually see them, because sometimes it's not so easy to see. It makes for this really interesting audience interaction kind of dynamic that is a little weird, because it's not how we normally interact with folks when we're presenting or performing with an audience on a stage. Usually there's some kind of, more of a give and take interaction, which can be done here too. It's just that it takes a little bit more like finessing and focusing in and making sure that you actually can see the comments that people leave. So sometimes people can't see your comments, just so you know. That's what happens. But comments are always appreciated, because that's how we know that you're paying attention. And I highly encourage everyone to try a live stream at least once in your life. Try it at least once. It's a really good way. Actually, my whole original compelling motive to do live stream was one, because I was extremely bored, and it was like the beginning or somewhere in the early stages of the stay-at-home order. But also because it's a better way to connect with folks in a more like real kind of live bond kind of way, like as if we were having a conversation. I mean, obviously it's a little different, but rather than just posting text on a Facebook wall or a picture or whatever, like a live stream is a little bit better, stronger way to connect with folks as we live in our respective worlds, which of course now it's kind of freeing up a bit more. But fireflies and dancing, happy summer solstice. There was a time where I would go out for bonfires for nights such as these, or drum circles and bonfires. Those were the best. There was a lovely ravine that my friend Penny, where she would host some pretty rockin' drum circles that made for some excellent dancing. Oh my god. And I haven't done that in such a long time. Some of you may be doing that right now, and I hope that it is a lovely fire and that you feel healed by that fire. Fire has a way of like cauterizing our emotional wounds in a way that is similar to just basking in sunlight, but much more aggressive. And it's such an interesting thing. I mean, it's kind of magical, really, when you think about it, how you can just kind of stare transfixed into a fire for a while, and it just kind of heals you as you watch the flames dance. So, fires for the solstice, for those of you out there enjoying the outside world. Cheers. And I am continuing to just hang out in my apartment in the air conditioning, because actually the hot air makes it hard for me to breathe, so I tend to stay inside when it's really hot. For the most part. I went for a walk earlier. There was like 4... Yeah, I'm at peace with hanging back and writing out COVID too. Totally cool with it. I am really kind of feeding out to just go walking around in a swamp. That's what I used to do when I was a kid. I would just go walk into the forest and find the swamps and then walk through the swamps and it was just very peaceful. But I went for a walk today, and in the pond there was 4 little duck families, the ducklings following their mamas. And there was one set of ducklings that had 2 mamas, which was interesting. So there was four duckling sets and then 5 mamas. So that was kind of neat to just watch them all hang out in the same pond and start to flock. And the different ages of all the ducklings was really interesting to observe. They're so tiny. Some of those they're so tiny. They're cute. And then the teenage ones would, chase the little ones, which is pretty typical, I guess, of how kids behave. But there was a couple of mullein plants came back to the pond side, because the apartment complex where I live usually will mow pretty close down to the edge, which just makes me crazy, because they mowed down some of the milkweed several years ago, and I don't think I've seen it since. And that's a plant that's really critical for butterfly habitat and butterflies in general, just to have some food. But there was a couple of mullein plants, and there was a couple of the amaranth, and there's some other stuff that seems to be possibly coming back, so that was encouraging. Yeah, swamps. I like swamps. At some point I'll figure out how to live stream from a swamp, but usually the reception's pretty bad. But you never know. On Instagram, I am dawn.earth. That's also my website. What is my dawn.earth? On TikTok. Have you tried TikTok yet? It's like pandemic bingo. I'm also at dawn.earth on TikTok, and that's a lot of fun, actually. You should try that too. That's a pretty good time. Yeah. And so yappy yap. What is this show supposed to be about? Well, I think the vision is that at some point I will actually be able to carve out a real set and have a real live set and actually have a camera guy doing the camera work. So eventually it will be something much more polished. But in the meantime, it's just a way to hang out with you guys and hang out with my friends and say hello in a little more pronounced fashion rather than just sharing, little Facebook posts or whatever updates and getting overwhelmed by all of the things going on in the world and people being pretty emotional about it. And of course, there's lots of political maneuvering and manipulation of public sentiment and polarizing of sentiment so that people are fighting with each other, because when people are fighting with each other, it's hard for them to find a united front or a common ground and collective, and be able to act in the collective interest. So I beseech you all to find the way to common ground and collective interest, and to recognize when politics are being polarized in such a way so that it leaves us immobilized, because that's happening a lot, especially in an election year. Actually, in 2016, I turned Facebook off because I just couldn't take it anymore. And this year, I think I've hit the point where I just can't really engage so much as like I was doing when I was first in my pandemic portfolio of social media. But now I just focus on figuring out what to say on Saturday nights. What do I say next? I don't know. And who knows if I'm going to say something I'm just like, oh my God. What? No. Stop. Just stop it. So I started to write stuff out. Like, like it's hard to say how I might embarrass myself next. But, oh, here's the thing. I did this presentation on Sustainable Development Goals earlier this week for the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, their Boston branch, like some sort of teleport format on the computer interwebs, and it went pretty well. And then the tech fella, this time I had a tech guy, he was super excited about it, and he's like, oh, we should do this, and I said, well, at some point I'd like to do a Facebook live stream on it. And he's like, oh yeah, like, and then we could get like 10 people to share it to 12 groups, and then we could get everybody to share it, and like, and the next thing you know, we could get like, just maximize the algorithms, and you'll have like an audience of 500,000 people. Like, that sounds fantastic, but I'm like freaking out at, an audience of 2. So, 5 is like pretty awesome. Am I frozen on the screen now? Oh man, come on. But why? Why, internets, why? Stop it. Just stop with what you do. Torture me so. It used to be relationships and boyfriends, now it's just the internet and trying to live stream. Yeah, well, don't worry until, somebody comes along and be like, what the heck were you saying the other night? I don't know, man. I don't know. I do know that I do tend to do the Saturday night thing, and I'll continue to do it. And if you continue to be interested, you can click on those little 3 dots in the upper right corner of the Facebook, like where it has the title and my name. It says I'm live now, and on to the right of that there's 3 little dots, and if you click on that, it will allow you to sign up for notifications for when I go live. That is actually one of the best ways to be notified for when I go live, when it's often a Saturday night, but sometimes I just do these random little bits where I experiment with things, and that often gets pretty interesting. So let's see. I reckon I will play a song that I thought I wouldn't play, but I will anyway. And then we'll have another earthquake to see if the camera will fix itself. And I don't think anybody's tapped into the chat box what you are drinking tonight except for Joe. So, even if it's like, aw, thanks, Joe. Hey, Jan. Oh, so you can see, less ceiling. Oh, yeah. So, you have no idea what I go through, man. It's like, here. Maybe that will be better. All these things that I do. OBS Studio, streaming to Restream, and then Restream, streaming to Facebook. Oh, and YouTube. It's also streaming to YouTube somewhere on my channel, which is called something that is not called Dawn.Earth. It's called like EOS Moon, where there's lots of weird videos that I've created. All right, well, it is, I reckon, what it is. Yeah, tea, coffee, water, beer, cocktails, whiskey. There's and there's a company called Fox River that does a line of Michigan whiskey. They do Michigan whiskey, and then they do a bourbon. But the cool thing about it is that I guess the Fox River is it's like preserved as a natural river, so the recreation on it is very limited. So it's kind of a neat source to be pulling water from for making whiskey. I thought that was a kind of a cool thing. That was actually one of the first whiskeys that I used to do to start doing some cocktail portraits, and they have a really nice bottle for doing that kind of thing. So Fox River whiskey. It's pretty good. It actually has a lot more rye in the Michigan whiskey than I normally would think that I would like, but I kind of like it. Aw, that's so sweet. Like, good night, honey. Thanks for your beer. I'm not gonna, this, I could sit, fine, that's what I'll do. I'll sit on a pillow. There's a pillow right here. Did you see this chair? This chair, man. Oh, man. I love this chair, but it's so noisy. All right, what does it look like now? I can't even quite tell. I think that's what it looks like. I think that it's better. I think it's better. Is it better? There, look at that. Pillows on command. The light starboard. on the starboard side, not the port side. I'm not sure how well this is streaming. I hope that it's streaming okay. It seems like people are sticking around, so it must be streaming okay. It seems to have frozen on my end of the Facebook world. But I will just hope that it's still coming through. I bought this guitar when my son was 4 months old. And he is now going to turn... yeah. He's now going to turn 20 this year, at the end of the year. He's still fresh into his 19th year. Aw. Thank you, Jess. No, I don't think that I'm ready to share. I think, almost. I think I have it set to... It's not... This Facebook Live event is actually only set to... share with my friends, so you get the special edition of sharing in this experience as my inner circle, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of artistic kind of encouragement for artists to develop and cultivate an inner circle of friends and a community, and I have been carefully working on that for a very long time. Always like, let's write a song, let's collaborate, and then I can't like ever get past my single parent life to do any such thing. But I still want to, and I still like to share what I'm doing, and I hope that people actually like it, at least some of it. And oh, but there is a public event right now on my YouTube channel, which is, I think, at EOSMoon, which is EOSMOON, which is a whole nother story. But, yeah, this guitar, almost 20 years I've had this guitar, and I love it. It actually is so when I do eventually travel around and just play music on random beaches and wherever else that I happened to stop and say, let's just play right here, it will be this guitar, because this has been through so much of just being outside and near bonfires, and it takes it well, it handles it well, it sounds good, it stays in tune, and it really carries, the sound carries out pretty well, that like does not need to be amplified. It amplifies pretty well on its own, so it's a really great travel guitar for that reason. Aw. Yep, that's how I remember port and left side too. Port side is the same 4 letters as the word left. Yeah, oh gosh, my kids are now... My daughter will be 17 next month, in almost exactly a month from now, and my son is 19. And there's so much emotion wrapped up in that. But I see my friends now who have young kids, and I just think back, like, God, what precious times those are. Like, just soak it up, friends. Just soak up that time, because you cannot get that time back. It's just immerse yourself in it and embrace it and enjoy it, and really just recognize it for what the beautiful fleeting moments that they actually are. It might not feel that way at the time. You might be very exhausted and losing your mind. But they grow up. They grow up, and I actually I felt very blessed that I had all of this, all this time here in this stay-at-home order with my kids. My kids were home, and it could have been that they weren't here, but they were, and I'm very, very grateful for that time, because life changes at the blink of an eye, which is what happened For us this week, things got very weird, and things are, life changes before you realize that's what's going to happen. And my son is now going through some pretty rough stuff. So I, in a way, like carrying his soul through the songs that I play on this instrument. And the guitar itself is an instrument. The string, I mean, I guess really stringed instruments in general have this very, I don't know, like a mystical resonation, the way that they carry sound into the universe. And I like that my Facebook has frozen on this very quizzical look on my face as I look at you like this. Oh, 4 young ones. You have 4 kids, Joe. I know I've seen pictures of your kids all the time, but I didn't realize that there's 4. You have 4. That's like that. Oh, wow. Yeah, my kids were little when I was in my late 20s and early 30s, and I'm so glad. I have no idea how I would do that much work now at this point. Oh my God. That is some serious stamina. Being able to like do that kind of physical work. Raising kids is physical work. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I think it would be good actually to just talk with another parent at this point, because I'm feeling like pretty crazy. But what else? Let's see. What else was I gonna say? Just like start to lose. Oh, so I dream. I have like lots of lucid dreams. Sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they make me want to scream, because I have such a vivid imagination and I'm a very good lucid dreamer. They can be amazing and fantastic and futuristic and like really interesting, and then other times they're just like torture, and sometimes they're just weird. And the dreams that I had last night were kind of weird, and it was like traveling in this alternate universe, and I have no idea where exactly that was, but it was like this. It's kind of interesting because it felt like a real place, but it was like a real place in another dimension, and it was just this cafe. Maybe it's my existentialist cafe, which is another thing another social media piece somewhere floating out into the universe. My existentialist cafe, but I guess in a way that's what this dream was, and there was a lot of folks from a band I once knew, named Kilroy, and there was like this whole nother kind of set that they had created that was tucked away in the depths of this cafe, I guess. And it was kind of I don't know, it was like time travel. It was like serious time travel. It was really neat, but it was also very confusing. And so this musician comes walking in, and he's like looking for this. I guess he's looking for Kilroy, or he's looking for a band, or he's looking for something, and he says that he is interested in finding Kilroy. That's what he said. Pretty sure that's what he said. And he said Kilroy, and I was like, well, I got news. And then I had a thought. I'm like, well, but I think I still have some vinyl albums, a few, and I think I might still need to give one to my friend Mike. But I thought, oh, well, I could give him one of those vinyls, but they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Like, I only get so many, and then that's it. That's all there is. And I gotta save them for the people that it really means a lot to them. So, Mike, if I have not given you a copy of the Kilroy vinyl that I have, then I still have it, and it's still waiting for you. It's got your name on it. And dreaming, just dreaming in general. If you're a dreamer and you go through like having lots of vivid dreams like I do, and you're like, what the hell, man? Like, I just want to sleep. I feel for you, but it's also, it's an interesting way to work through deeply subconscious stuff. It's pretty cool. And then if you get to a point where you can like willfully do things, take action in your dreams, it helps you work through things in a very, very interesting way. So, thank you everybody for tuning in and taking part and helping me think through what it is that I want to do on these Saturday nights, and just kind of chatting and playing some songs and talking about completely wacky stuff and some serious stuff and the whole gamut, really. And at some point I'll get back to my like really quietly cocky avant-garde comedic self, where I just can say things that are funny just because I have a really good way of laughing at myself. But who knows what it is now? I have no idea. Yeah, I know, John. It seems like my kids are I feel like my kids are still little. I mean, they are. They're both taller than me, actually. My son is like, I think 6 foot now, and my daughter is like about an inch, or maybe an inch and a half taller than me. So it has hit that point. Yep. And my son is in college, and my daughter is starting her senior year in high school and registering for ACTs and SATs, because I guess that's still a thing that they're doing now that they figured out how to do it in the middle of social distancing era. So it's a good thing I've like been 17 and 19. 17, she'll be 17 next month. Yes, I know. Yeah. I feel like I was 17 just like a couple minutes ago. What? Perpetually 17. So, yep, that's where we are. Let's see what else we can do with a capo, because I haven't had one for so long. And it seems like there's gotta be, I guess maybe I'll just end up going back to the same thing that I was doing earlier, because I really like this little, and I think it's because it reminds me of an REM song, and lots of REM songs always give me this really interesting sense of solace that no matter what is going on in the world, like there's still just a mystical order that all is fine. It will just take its time, and that time is of its own pace, and that's all there is to do. It's just observe and accept it. And so that's kind of what I'm hearing in this little riff that I've developed. church singing coming through there. That's kind of what it is. It's a bit of a sorrowful lament, really. But it's all those church singing days has definitely shaped how I sing overall, which sometimes I love, sometimes it makes me crazy, but what do you do? Oh, I guess maybe it's this. Which is actually just another thing that I've been working on, and it's just fun to play it. And it's capo. Capo frets all over the place and just see what happens, but I have a hard time singing in that key. So I've been working on this one a little bit too. I love that I am perfectly content to share snippets and little ditties and little bits of what I'm working on. Because that's what Saturday nights are for. Cobblestones, black mirror, always looking for you. Every street, every song, every dream, do you know what you put me through? The mess you left behind, did you know what it would do? Every song, every street, every dream, always looking for you. Thought I saw you on that train. Where are you now? Only darkness can surmise. Ah, da, 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 Where are you now? Only this song can get through. Where are you now? Only this song can get through. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Where are you now? Only this song can get through. Where are you now? Only this song can get through. Where are you now? Only this song can get through. Still working on a chorus for that one. I like that one. I like the groove. I actually recorded that on electric like last week, maybe the week before. And finally got it to a point where I could actually just focus on the vocals and just recording just recording vocals, not actually doing anything else, which is really what I wanted to do all along. So that was nice. It was like a nice, like, liberating moment where I was like, oh, like, it's the middle of the afternoon, it's not late, not keeping my neighbors up by belting out this song, and I could actually belt out the song, whereas the singing that I do, like what you hear, is kind of what I call a rehearsal, kind of a rehearsal voice, It's a softer form of singing, which I almost, now it's almost like that's the only kind of singing I can do. But like a week and a half ago or so, I was working on just doing some vocals to that song, and it just felt so good. Like, singing is like this, it's like an exercise in just getting all of this emotional static out of your body. Just get it all out and just let it go into the world, and it's no longer vetting, it's no longer like vexing you. And I think that's why singing is important in general for all people, not just folks that are, been blessed with a nice voice and it's just easy for them, because there's lots of people where it's just easy, and that's maddening. But everybody should sing, and they should just allow, you should allow yourself to just let your voice be what it is. And really, some of the best singers, the best songs, are vocalists that just allow their voice to be what it was. It wasn't necessarily like all that incredible necessarily, but it was very interesting and it's very unique. For instance, Bob Dylan and many others, Tom Petty, like there's just like these songs that they just sing in the voice that they have, and because it's so unique, that's what makes it good. And that's what makes it like you can't replicate that stuff, because it's just it's so unique. Oh, Marvin Gaye and Bob Marley tonight. Oh yeah, that's a great. Actually, so here's the thing about me and reggae. I broke up with reggae so long ago because there were so many bad reggae bands, and I realized that if I keep listening to all the bad, and sorry guys, but all the bad local reggae bands, it was going to ruin my relationship to reggae for the rest of my life. That is exactly how I felt about it. And this was like years ago. It's like 15 years ago now. And I thought, oh my, like, well, what do I do? Like, I have yet to listen to the whole collection and repertoire of Bob Marley. And I'm saving it. And just like this, I'm like saving it for once I've like been completely like cleared of that bad reggae influence, so that it will not sully or taint in any way the Bob Marley experience, the full repertoire. Like there will be a time where like that's basically all I will listen to. And I remember, and I had a moment, I was in a friend's car and he had Bob Marley on the radio, and I was just like, oh my God, like I forgot how good reggae is. And I was just like, oh yeah, like I can't wait for the day when I just let myself indulge in it in a whole, like it'll probably go on for like weeks, and then next thing I know it'll go on for months, and then after a while I'll be like, okay, I gotta like throw in like some Tom Buckley or something. And I remember saying, yeah, like actually I stopped listening to reggae because bad reggae was ruining my relationship. And nope, not them at all. It was good. I mean, it was good for what it was, but like for whatever reasons, like, it was, so anyway, I broke up with reggae a while ago, and I look forward to that romance when it comes around. I expect that it will probably also be the time when I have found a way to just hang out on an island for a while, and probably working on some of my rum cocktails. Because the thing about rum is that it's made from cane sugar, so it's super sweet. So it's very easy. It's very easy to overuse it because it's so sweet, and so it's like it's just easy if you like sweet, it's easy to put too much rum into a drink. So I've been working on really internalizing what is a 1.5 ounce or 2 ounce serving. So in bartender parlay, when you count drinks, if you're the kind of bartender that counts drinks to make sure that people aren't getting sloppy drunk at your bar, you have a sense of how many drinks a person has had by counting how many servings. And so for liquor, it's one serving is 1.5 ounces of the liquor. So if you've got a drink that's got the base liquor plus others, like that one drink is actually considered 2 drinks or somewhere in that neighborhood. So, and then of course, if you're at a bar where they make drinks strong, then you've got to assume that one drink is actually technically 3 servings, and you're already probably over your legal limit. So the ones, so it's just good to know these things, especially if you're trying to understand like what you're serving as a server, but also as a consumer, you want to understand like how quickly alcohol hits your bloodstream and how quickly it can influence you, which is pretty quick. So all that said, pizza is a good companion. Make sure you eat before you drink, or if you I don't think I have tried Zaya dark rum. I got this stuff called the Kraken. Just got a really cool bottle, which will lend well for doing cocktail portraits when I get to doing the rum portraits. But it's super strong. It's like 94 proof. So that's and that's what you also have to take into consideration, is how strong is the actual liquor. So the rum that it was a dark rum, and it was 94 proof. So like a drink was enough. And that was, so I started making drinks like with half an ounce of liquor, just enough to give it some flavor, because I'm not sure what is the point of making a cocktail if you can't at least taste some of that liquor. Of course, as long as it actually tastes good. If it even has a taste at all, because obviously a lot of them don't really. They just mix well with the juice or anything else, and then you can't really taste the liquor. So, rum. Yeah, last year I watched all of like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, or at least a good lot of them. Like 3 of them were on Netflix, and I finally watched them all. And lo and behold, my library across the street actually had the other 2 in the series. So I got to watch the whole series of Pirates of the Caribbean. And so I was just like, had this fun little, I don't know, it's like it really helped me cultivate this attitude of like getting through life with the attitude of a pirate, I guess. Or just the happy-go-lucky kind of like, whatever, who knows what that is. It was fun though. It was a fun attitude to cultivate, and it was fun in my creative life, and so that was actually what got my attention, of like, oh yeah, like rum is a thing, like I should know how to make like at least a basic like dark and stormy, which is a rum cocktail, and just some other like basic stuff. And so I think that's really the only one that I've tried so far, is the stuff called the Kraken. I might have gotten another one, but I don't think so. Anyway, super strong. Watch out for the strong liquor. It'll kick your ass, especially if you're lightweight like me. The other thing that I noticed after I had kids is that my alcohol tolerance diminished drastically. So if you have had children and have not yet had an alcoholic drink, because perhaps you're nursing, or you're just waiting, just in general, there is a chance that your tolerance for processing alcohol has changed, and you should know that. And it's good to know that before you have a couple of beers that you used to like be able to have a couple of beers and it was not a big deal, but then the next thing you know, it's a big deal. Yeah, I think I that was a bit of a surprise. That's what all the ganja smokers say. Yeah, it is. It definitely is a. It's a. I think it generally is for most folks. But I have some friends that can't be even around the smell of marijuana because it makes them like so overly anxious that it kind of freaks them out. So I think that I have sometimes been like that. So I tend to steer clear, uh, except for sometimes on holidays. Maybe this one's a holiday. Yeah. Well, I have carved out a whole yet another show of whatever this is. At some point, it will be like this. I'll work up to like the concert series. There's some folks I watch. They've been working on music forever, or they've been gifted with a voice, so it's just easy, or however it goes. And they put together this collection of music and a whole repertoire that is just easy to put out like a 2-hour performance, which is basically a concert. And epic concerts in my book are close to 3 hours, between a 2 and 3 hour mark, and closer to the 3 hour mark. That's an epic concert. 2 hours though, that's like that's that's an investment. Like to be able to come up with 2 hours worth of music, or even like more than an hour straight of music, and to perform it like that takes a lot of work. And so when people, when musicians are out there asking for, tips and to hit the tip jar, man. That you have no idea how much work goes on behind the scenes to write songs and then to produce them and perform them in a way that it's just, that it just flows easily because you remember it all, and you've put the rehearsal time in, and that's a lot of work. You don't know how much work it is to be a musician unless you are one, and unless you really take the time to invest in that artistry and that craft, and it deserves to be paid. Like, pay the musicians. They deserve to be paid. Oh my. There is even I will do that. Josh Davis on Thursday nights. I think I've seen some of his shows here and there. I saw somewhere I think Germany has posted like this cultural like restart kind of initiative, and they're actually investing in their arts, and they're investing in the live performance industry, which is fantastic because I can't even imagine how many people have been impacted that relied, their livelihoods was sustained by the live entertainment industry. And so clearly that's not going to happen here in the United States anytime soon. So entertainers, performers, musicians, artists, they really rely on their audience and their appreciators to help sustain them. So hit their tip jars. I do not have a tip jar because until I can produce an hour's worth of material flawlessly, or at least close to it, I probably won't ask for that. But I will ask for you to subscribe to my YouTube, because Lord knows I could use some subscribers on there. And that's actually a great place to find some of my other video experiments, which have been a good time. It is increasingly where I multicast this live Saturday night performance. So there's recordings of prior ones there that are not as fuzzy, and potentially a little more musically coherent. It's hard to say. Who knows? It's like a mystery bag. And so I will probably post a link to that, I guess, probably at the end of this, because I don't think it's anywhere unless you scroll down my Facebook wall and look for one of those really wacky videos that I posted. There's some pretty interesting TikTok videos that I managed to wrangle from TikTok to my computer and back to YouTube and then post on Facebook, which it will complain. If you try to do that, it will complain every step of the way, but it will work. It will eventually play. Because they figured out that most of us have no idea what it means to have video formatting and like actually have it go. I will do that, Joe, and actually have everything go off without a hitch. All the video formats that go on behind the scenes and all those numbers and frame rates and things, but a lot of the social media platforms have figured out that most of us have no idea what all of that means, and they make it play anyway. So even if it complains, even if the process complains it's an invalid file format, there's a good chance it will somehow render and it will somehow work anyway. And so I try because most of the time I'm like just home by myself, and I'm very much a social person. I have, for you astrologers out there, I have a Leo moon, an Aquarius sun, and a Taurus rising, and then Mars in Capricorn. So it makes me extremely at odds with myself much of the time, but it also makes it so that I'm inclined to be very social, and exceptionally social. And really the last, all of the years of single parenting have made it very difficult for me to see. I mean, I probably haven't seen many of you in like years, right? Like a lot of them. And as my kids have gotten older, I keep thinking, oh, well, at some point, like, time's got to free up and I'll be able to go and be social, right? And then 2020 hit, and who knows what's happening now. So this is really the best way for me to connect with folks socially. And so I've been really working on making this function correctly, even if it's a little bit fuzzy. I'm going to make it work. And at some point I'll build out, and I will probably convert my bedroom to like an actual like live studio set. Like, who needs to sleep in their bedroom? This is a studio television, production set. So I will probably continue to figure out like, well, I guess this side of the room actually lends pretty well to making some things happen. One of the reasons that I choose to broadcast so late is that I have windows off to my balcony that just let in so much light that it's really hard to get good lighting in the middle of the day that doesn't just kind of wash everything out. So that's actually how I landed on putting together a late show. It's the Don Nelson Late Show. That's what it is. The Don Nelson Live, Saturday night. It's all those Saturday Night Live shows that I used to watch when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Because it is. It's like one of the best shows, one of the most longest running shows out there, and it's like it's just amazing when it's amazing. Sometimes it's just terrible, but when it's good, it's good. Aw. Good night, Joe. Thanks for tuning in. I love that you've tuned in these last few weeks. It's meant a lot. And it's been great. And I love all of you who have taken the time to tune in and listen to my songs as half finished or excerpted as they may be. I intend to finish them, and having these live stream sets helps me to actually follow through on my artistic goals and work a little bit more on each of the verses, or a little bit more on how to say, how to sing a single line in a particular way, because it just that slight nuance is what makes it feel so much better to sing, and it just feels like it is the exact expression that my heart needs to express. And so it's been really good to have this weekly check-in of a sort to push all that process along and really keep me focused on the fact that this music is important to me and writing songs is important to me. And as much as it kills me that it gets harder as you age to have the vocal cords work in the way that you want them to. And if I had done more of this in my early 30s, then my voice was very different, actually. And it was I mean, you know, your voice is your voice, but it was definitely way more in shape. Hey, Deborah! Aw, thank you for tuning in. And all of your live streams, Deborah. This gal, oh man. The Three Birds Soap Flock Club, Avant-Garde live stream at like, you know, midnight or later. Yeah. Well, you know, looking more relaxed after singing a few songs. Yeah, it's like you just kind of chill out. I also start to treat this more like a social occasion rather than just like a performance, and just really try to make it so that it's something that's more interactive, but also, you know, it's challenging to do. So I am, however, going to tune out here in just a short while. I'd like this to be right around the hour mark, or a little less, or just a slight bit more. And it's usually 10:28ish every Saturday, for early enough for the mood to strike midnight, because the night is still young, and late enough that you can cozy into some indulgences and a whiskey for both of us. You weren't here earlier. I was talking about, I found this whiskey called the Fox River whiskey that is local to Michigan, and it's from a river that is protected as like a natural area, so it sounds very pristine, and it's and I tried their Michigan whiskey, which is a kind of a blended whiskey with a bit more rye than I usually like a whiskey, and it's really good. And I'm hoping that I can at some point try their actual bourbon, but Fox River whiskey. So what kind of whiskey are you pouring for us? Is it the Hudson Baby Bourbon? Or is it the Japanese? Yeah, well, I think I will call it a night, you guys. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being in my life, and thank you for listening, even if I might be a little bit boring and drone on at times. Tra-la-la. Is there anything else that I want to say before we go? Bring your friends cupcakes. That's the overall. That's the concluding note for the evening. Bring them cupcakes, and whiskey when you can. All right. Good night, everybody, and I will see you definitely next Saturday, and if not before then, because of my random experiments, and possibly a Tuesday twilight, I will see you next week. All right. Take care. Good night. And I'll post a link to my YouTube in the comments.